Hello there. I thought I'd go back to the garage this week because, quite frankly, it's cooler than in the house at the moment. So I've been feeling a bit better lately, so I've been able to get out of the house a bit more, which inevitably has meant that I've spent more money on games. So I better crack on with what I've managed to pick up in the last 10 days-ish since I last did one of these pickup videos. So the first one isn't particularly interesting, but I found it at the recycling centre along with what is my most favourite pickup that's coming later. And it's one that I just don't have in the collection, but at the same time, it's for the PS1, and it's very rare to see any PS1 game for, what, £2 I think I paid for it? And that is Porsche Challenge for the PS1. So it's a racing game. I seem to remember many years ago, back when I used to only play games on my uncle's computer. Didn't matter what he had, it was a computer back then for me. And there was a Porsche racing game that he had on that. So if that can be anywhere like an updated version of that, it's got to be at least a little bit fun. So that is the first and probably the most mundane of all of the pickups I've got here, in my opinion anyway. I've picked up one UMD in the last couple of weeks, because all of the ones that I'm finding at the moment are films that I've already seen, and I'm sticking purely with, or for the most part anyway, for movies that I haven't seen to get them on UMD. And the one that I've picked up this week is Sunshine, which I can't say I've ever heard of before. Reading the blurb on the back, it sounds a little bit like the plot of Armageddon, but directed by Danny Boyle. So Danny Boyle Armageddon style film, that's, at the very least, that's going to be interesting. And talking of films, based on one of my pickups from a couple of weeks ago, I decided to watch Catwoman the other day, and I had a little go on the game. The game, for the little bit that I've played, it's probably one of the worst games I've ever played in my life. But the movie, I was expecting to be truly awful. It wasn't good by any stretch of the imagination, but it wasn't the worst film I've ever seen. And I've seen far more well-regarded films that are worse than that, if that makes sense. Although, I've got to say, the first 20 minutes to set things up feels like the setup for a rom-com, but filmed in the style of The Matrix, with some weird angles and like swooshing camera work, and it's bizarre. But there are some very good points in it. Well, I say very good. There's some alright parts of it, and it was a fun way to kill an hour and a half. But anyway, I digress. I've completely gone off the topic of games, although most of what I've got here is games based on movies. But I'll get through the ones that are not based on movies first. I said in the last one that I'd been playing a bit more in the garage, and I started to get a bit more into the original Xbox, which, although I had one when I was 16, 17, I didn't really play enough of it. And I've been really enjoying it, particularly Simpsons Hit and Run. And I was looking through games that I wanted to play back then that I never played. And although I tend to make sure I go for games that are in their actual cases, I've picked this one up because I just want to play it, just to see whether it's all right, and also hopefully it'll be funny. So in the same vein as The Simpsons Hit and Run, I have the original Family Guy game for Xbox. I enjoyed Family Guy, again, up to a point. It just doesn't seem quite as funny as it used to me. Maybe that's because I'm getting older, maybe it's because it's not as good as it was. It could be either, could be both, or I could just be going a bit loony, to be honest. But then my other two main Xbox pickups, they're both games that I did play when I was younger. I played a very small amount of Fable, but I didn't really play enough of it to really make a good go of it. The Fable game I've played most overall is probably Fable 3, and even that, I only played about 8 or 9 hours of it. I know there's a remake of this coming up in the fairly near future, but I kind of just want to play on the original Xbox at the moment, because that's what I'm enjoying. But on top of that, I decided to pick up copy of Burnout 2, Point of Impact, which racing games aren't massively my thing, but this one I remember from playing on the PS2 in my late teens, maybe early 20s. And it's got probably one of the most fun modes that I've ever played in any racing game, which is the crash mode, where literally you've got like a scenario of a crossroads or a busy section of road, and you literally just have to make a crash, and hopefully the chain reaction will build up the highest value crash that you can, which, given I'm not great at racing games, I'm not great at games in general, but I do enjoy the chaos that you can cause with that and some of the high scores that you can get on that. So that's just a good bit of fun for me. But the bulk of what I've picked up in the last couple of weeks is games based on movies, which is pretty much the main thing I do these days, I think. So these are in no particular order in terms of when I bought them, but the first one I've got on my pile here is Die Hard Trilogy for the PS1. Again, I had this when I was a lot younger, and it covers the trilogy, but it covers the trilogy with a different game style for each one of the films. So you've got like a third-person shooter for Die Hard, then I think it's an on-rails first-person shooter for Die Hard 2, and then the mode that I played the most when I was younger was the first-person driving a taxi through New York, where you can just crash into things, you can run people over. I don't think I ever achieved a single objective within playing that when I was younger, but I did enjoy like the blood splatter and stuff. But maybe I understand it's a good one, and it is one that I will be playing, and I might do a bit more of a deep dive on that because I do enjoy the Die Hard movies, in particular Die Hard with a Vengeance, which was the first one I saw when I was probably about 12. But that's great fun for me. But anyway, the next one is for a movie that I've not seen before. I've seen the first film out of, I think there were only 2 films in this series, and that is Stuart Little 2, which I probably will watch the movie at some point because I try to watch the movies that correspond with the games that I've picked up. I don't hold out great hopes for this because I don't have particularly great memories of the first film, but the game, from the screenshots on the back, looks to have shades of the Toy Story 2 game, which is rather good. And if the gameplay can be similar to that, then it should be at least a little bit of fun. And next, I'll probably have to do these two as one. A few weeks ago, maybe even over a month ago, I remember Gazcon saying that he'd been playing through the Batman Begins game. I'm not the biggest fan of the Dark Knight trilogy. I much prefer the Tim Burton films, but maybe I'm the odd one out here. But he said that the Batman Begins game was actually quite good, and I remember seeing it years ago in Game Station where they had it set up on one of the playable displays, and I remember it looking like it would be quite fun. So I picked this up on PS2, and then was it yesterday? It might have been yesterday actually. Yeah, I took myself out for an hour and forgot that I bought it. So I've also bought it for the original Xbox as well. So I don't know whether one's going to look better than the other. I know the Xbox is more powerful than the PS2, so I'm guessing it should look a bit better on the Xbox. And given that the Xbox is the one I'm enjoying playing at the moment, that's probably where I will be playing it in the near future. The next one is a film that I do remember seeing at the cinema, and I've never been inclined to watch it in any stretch. I don't ever want to watch it again because I don't remember anything about it, and I don't remember anything good about it. And that film/game, is Van Helsing with Hugh Jackman in it. The guy in the shop told me that this is apparently a really good game. I've not looked into it to see what other opinions are. So he's either just saying that it's a good game for the sake of saying it's a good game, or he's got awful taste in games, or it is actually a good game. which side of the many fences is that one going to lie on? Have a guess. Then carrying on with original Xbox, there's one that I know I've got somewhere on here on UMD that I've not gone around to watching yet, which is Constantine. I know nothing about the film. I know nothing about the plot at all. All I know is Keanu Reeves is in it, and I think it's based on a comic. So it's a complete step into the unknown, but it's one that's going to have to be bumped up the list to get watched in the near future. Now, the next one is part of, I think there's 4 films in the series now. I've only watched the first one because I was encouraged to watch it when I started in the job I'm in now, and everyone said it was like the best film ever made. I was a bit unsure about it, and having watched it, I was still unsure. So unsure that I've not watched the film that corresponds with Bad Boys 2. I know Bad Boys has its audience and is quite popular within that audience, but I'm not sure how much I'm going to have fun with this. Although it does say that you can play as Michael and Marcus, each with their own personality and characteristics, but it also goes between a first and third person viewpoint. So just that switch between the two could be quite a bit entertaining and interesting. So we'll see how that one goes, especially as I'm actually getting around to playing a lot more of these games at the moment. My penultimate game of this video is one that I do have for other consoles, but I really wanted to get myself something for the Sega Saturn recently, and I was scrolling through eBay as one tends to, and I saw it. I love the film, and so I thought I'd put in a lowball offer, thinking, at best they're going to meet me halfway, but instead they accepted my offer, and so I've managed to pick this up for about half of what all the others were selling for on eBay. So I'm very happy to add the Lost World Jurassic Park into my Saturn collection, because my Saturn collection doesn't really count as a collection with the amount of games I've got for it, but I do like Jurassic Park, so I'm going to have fun with it in some way or another, even if it's just enjoying seeing dinosaurs on a screen. And the final movie goes along with what I've been trying to do for a while, which is get the movie games for the SNES. And it's a film I've not seen yet. I have picked up the DVD to watch it, so that'll get watched in the next couple of days. But I know that the game doesn't correspond particularly to the film. And that game is Blues Brothers. The only bit that I remember, or that I know that I've seen that's anything to do with Blues Brothers, was in 2.4 Children years and years and years ago. There was like a talent show thing, and at the end they did like a performance of Everybody Needs Somebody to Love. I don't know if that's the title of the song, but that kind of was burned into my head from a very young age, but I've never actually got around to watching the film. So I'm really looking forward to watching that one, because it's the era of comedy that I enjoy, and I think it's going to be a good one. I really pray that it's a good one. But finally, my favourite pickup from the last couple of weeks isn't a game at all. It's not even a games console. But I went to the recycling centre very briefly a couple of weeks ago, I think, and I found this Binatone Minivision black and white portable TV. I do have a real weakness when it comes to things like old TVs and monitors, because just some of them, the designs are so interesting, and the design on that one is just interesting on so many different levels. It's literally just a very small black and white screen, but I've managed to rig the NES up to it and played a bit of Gremlins 2 on it, and it was just so nice. Even though it's just a tiny black and white screen, it just felt so nice. But I really, really love picking up little interesting things like that. And the price on it was fantastic. I think partially because when I got to the till and they started ringing up, they actually had to ask me what it was because they didn't realise that it was a small telly. So it's a lovely little pickup, and it's going to have pride of place somewhere within the collection because I absolutely love it. But that is the end of the pickups for the last couple of weeks. So if you've lasted this long, thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you next time I get around to doing one of these. Goodbye.